How can you find a needle in an ocean?
How can you set your wellies free? Go on.
How? How do you know what numbers come next?
Oh, I'm hopeless with numbers, me. I don't even know what number came last, let alone next.
I like a good maths problem, get me teeth into something like that.
Oh, well, you'll like this one then. Look, because this is all about numbers in sequence, and I'll want to know what the next line in these numbers is going to be.
Is this one of those things where you add the previous numbers lines together and then
No,
you
nothing to do with
subtract?
nothing to do with
Mermaid's reinterpretation of Pascal's imperfect triangle principle. What you do is you take the function of the third integer...
Gareth, rubbish.
Yeah.
Let's follow this through together, shall we? What have I got here?
One.
One. So I've got 1, 1.
Right.
So we'd write down 1, 1.
Yeah.
What have I got there?
2 ones.
2,
Well
1.
done. 2 1s. We'll write it down. What have I got there?
I know, sir.
Go on.
1, 2,
1, 2.
and 1, 1.
And 1,
yeah.
1. Well done, McKenna.
Yeah.
Now, the big test. What have I got here?
Well, you've got 1,
1,
1, 1,
1, 2,
1, 2.
and 2 ones.
1.
2 1s. Well done. Top of the class, both of you.
That's
So how do you
rubbish.
know what numbers come next? You simply read out the last line. That's how.
Yes, aren't we clever? But how stupid is a woodpecker?
Oh, there was a little cartoon character, Woody the Woodpecker. He was a bit daft.
Now, I'm talking about real woodpeckers here who spend most of their day headbutting the nearest tree,
Oh,
which isn't a
stupid.
very clever thing to do at all. Let's go to the woods. This extraordinary creature spends most of its day hitting its head against a tree. Now, its beak hits the tree 15 times a second. That means its head is moving at 2,000 kilometers an hour, more than twice the speed of a bullet. So how come it doesn't suffer serious brain damage? Are you all right, Gareth?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Now, a repeated action like the woodpeckers would cause a human doing a similar thing serious damage to the brain. But a woodpecker avoids damage because the design of its skull is very different to a human. Now, first of all, take a look at the size of a woodpecker's brain. It's really small compared to a human brain, and there's also very little fluid around the brain to transmit the shock waves. Now, the position of the beak is also very important. It's actually positioned below the brain case, so that the shock waves are transmitted below the brain. And as a final precaution, this strip of muscle here acts as a shock absorber. So how stupid is a woodpecker? Well, they're pretty clever if you ask me. You can stop now, Gareth.
How can you eat a cactus? This is the cactus I'm talking about, a cactus cake. Delicious novelty cake for birthday parties or anything like that. So easily made, a Victoria sponge mixture, equal amounts of self-raising flour, margarine, caster sugar and 3 eggs. Into that you're going to put just a spot of green food colouring and mix that in. Doesn't look very nice, but it's absolutely fine, and it'll give you that authentic cactus colour. Then you'll put this mixture into not 1 but 2 greased tins. I'll just do 1 now for speed, and then just flatten it out quite nicely, and that's got to cook. That's now got to go into the oven for 30 minutes at gas mark 3 or 170 degrees centigrade. And when they come out, they will look like that, a conventional Victoria sponge, but you'll have to cut off the brown top in order to see the green beneath. So you'll be left with 2 sponges just like those. Now you need your cactus shapes, your templates if you like. One looks like that with the round top and that oblong bit cut out at the bottom, and the other one with the oblong at the other end. And what you do then is you cut around these templates on the cakes. You'll obviously spend just a little bit more time than I am, but you're getting the rough idea. Okay, so one shape will be like that, and the other like the other template. In other words, you will have 2 bits of cake shaped like that. Now, this is where the tricky, delicate part comes in, because after all, it is cake we're dealing with here. You will delicately put the 2 pieces together, like so. Put them in a base like that, and put that little lot inside there, like so. And you can use things like these little biscuits with icing on them to actually be the needles, if you like, and you can stick them on with icing and so on. Sweets and things you can use to decorate the bottom of the bowl there to create the desert floor. So you are left with something wonderful like this, a cactus cake. So how can you eat cactus? Very easily.
How clean is Mount Everest?
Oh, Mount Everest, tallest mountain in the world, 29,000 feet. Nepal in the Himalayas, I would have thought in pristine condition.
You're right. You'd think that, wouldn't you? But in fact, Mount Everest is a bit of a tip. Gail, come with me. We're going on an expedition.
Oh, this sounds good.
You see, the problem is, Mount Everest is increasingly becoming a more popular tourist destination. In fact, last year, there were 300 expeditions to climb this, the most famous of mountains.
Oh.
That means 3,000 to 4,000 people walked Everest.
It's not half hard work, this, Gareth.
Here, let me get rid of some of the stuff in your pack.
Oh, thanks.
You see, the problem is that climbing Mount Everest is very difficult and very dangerous. And so the last thing you want to do is carry useless equipment. Right, that's got rid of it. Keep going. Only a matter of feet.
Oh, nearly there. Oh. I claim this mountain for how to.
Hey! And when you reach the top, you can actually see the route that you took from the rubbish you left behind.
Oh.
In fact, there is so much rubbish on Mount Everest these days that some expeditions set out not to climb the mountain, but simply to bring back other people's rubbish. Sherpa McKenna, just drop that lot, would you, at base camp?
Yeah, all right.
So, how clean is Everest? Well, at the moment, it's a right mess.
How did a jellyfish and a bug solve an explosive problem?
Explain.
Landmines are a terrible worldwide problem. In war-torn countries all over the world, armies have buried so many landmines that 25,000 people are seriously hurt by them every year. Clearing minefields is a dangerous and slow job. It's basically a case of very brave people poking the ground with sticks. But soon, thanks to the latest research, there could be a much safer way.
This is very interesting, Gail, but what's it got to do with jellyfish and bugs?
Let me explain. TNT.
Hey, steady, old girl, that's explosive.
There's not really any TNT in there,
Oh,
Fred.
fair enough.
But TNT is actually present in most landmines, and it actually leaks out of the landmines into the ground around it. Now, believe it or not, there's a certain type of bacteria that likes to eat TNT, obviously about 1 million times smaller than this one. Now, also, there are several types of jellyfish which glow when they have a UV light shone on them. Now, some clever research scientist figured out that if he took the gene from the jellyfish that made it glow in the dark and transplanted it into the bacteria that likes to eat TNT, he'd have a TNT-eating bug that glowed in the dark, and it would act as a marker for where the landmines were. Come and have a look at this. So, here we are in a minefield, but where are the mines? Well, all I have to do is spray the ground with my TNT-eating bacteria, then simply wait for the sun to go down, take my ultraviolet light, shine it on the ground, and where the TNT-eating bacteria has clustered together, then it will glow under the UV light. So there you have it. How did a jellyfish and bacteria help to solve an explosive problem? Well, with an appetite for TNT and a glowing performance, that's how.
How do you find a needle in an ocean?
Fred, you're mixing your metaphors. You find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, or a drop in the ocean.
That's it.
Well, yes, true, but also on the banks of the River Thames in London is a very famous monument called Cleopatra's Needle. It's a 3,500-year-old Egyptian obelisk made for a pharaoh called Thutmose III. In 1878, a public subscription was raised to bring this superb obelisk all the way from Egypt to London. Easier said than done. How on earth were they going to carry it? This was the solution. They built a huge container, a sort of barge really, rather like a giant cigar tube with enough air to make the whole thing float and not sink like a stone. And then it was to be towed all the way to England. Fine until they got to the Bay of Biscay. Suddenly the weather got really nasty, really violent and life-threatening. The captain of the ship towing it thought, my goodness, the whole lot's going to sink, and he cut the ropes free. So suddenly this priceless Egyptian antiquity was lost, perhaps forever. And then 5 days later, Egyptian obelisk ahoy, Captain.
Did they really say that?
No. But a passing steamship had seen the container, which incidentally was called the Cleopatra, tied it to his ship and towed it in triumph all the way to London, where it still stands proudly today. And that's how you can find a needle in an ocean.
How do you set your welly free?
Oh, I know this one. It's that story, isn't it, of the welly held in captivity for years and eventually freed back into the wild. Free welly, that's it.
Oh, Gail, that was Free Willy. This is the kind of welly I'm talking about. This is, in fact, the story of an inventor from Devon who found a rather ingenious solution to a rather sticky problem. Fred, I'm going to need your assistance on this one. What I've got here, Fred, is a load of really gloopy mud.
Ugh.
Now, you've got a pair of wellies on.
Yeah.
Try walking in that
What,
stuff.
get in there?
Yeah, off you go. See how you get on.
Oh. Hey, this is...
Are you stuck?
I'm stuck. Hey.
You see, our Devonian inventor was watching the Lancashire Fire Brigade trying to rescue someone from Morecambe mudflats, and they were finding it really hard going because their wellies kept getting stuck in the mud.
I tell you what, this is difficult.
And the reason why it's difficult, I can explain if you come over here. I've got a model which will explain what's going on. It's a tank full of rather gloopy stuff which behaves just like mud. And watch what happens when I try and lift my welly out. The welly goes in all right with the weight of a person behind it, but when you try to pull it out, it seems to stick. And the reason for this is the thickness of the mud. The mud is so thick that it forms an airtight seal around the base of the welly.
Give us a hand, Fred.
Hold on, mate. I just need to get my leg out here.
He always was a stick in the mud.
The solution to this problem is simple. What you need is a length of plastic tube. Watch what happens. You slide the tube down behind the welly till it's underneath the sole of the boot, and this allows air to get into that airtight seal. Introduce some air into the equation, and the welly comes out nice and easy. Now, that's a theoretical model. The actual thing that the Devonian inventor came up with looks like this. Meet the Mudbuster welly, an ordinary welly with a rubber tube down the back which allows air to get in under the sole. In fact, this device is so effective that the Lancashire Fire Brigade are now using Mudbuster wellies on all their mudflat rescues.
Oh, yeah, it comes out easy. It works!
I can beat that, Toppy. Behold, Dineage's patent pneumatic waders. I'm working on the theory that if air can help free your welly, then compressed air should do the job even better.
Are you
Get me
sure
out
about
of it,
this?
Gareth.
Out the
Compressed
way.
air, watch out.
Out the way.
Well out the way.
And I just turned myself on.
That worked, Fred, didn't it?
Good idea, Fred.
Well, with a little air, that's how you set your wellies free, and that's
How for now.